During the American Revolution, tarring and feathering emerged as a brutal and widely condemned form of vigilante justice employed by both patriots and loyalists against perceived enemies, traitors, and dissenters. This violent practice involved coating individuals in hot tar and then covering them with feathers, often resulting in severe pain, humiliation, and physical injury. This article explores the origins, methods, motivations, and legacy of tarring and feathering in the context of the American Revolution. Origins and methods. The practice of tarring and feathering has its roots in medieval Europe, but became particularly prevalent in colonial America during periods of social unrest and political upheaval. The process typically began with a group of vigilantes apprehending their target, often someone suspected of collaborating with the enemy, engaging in criminal activity, or expressing unpopular political views. Once captured, the victim would be stripped naked or partially clothed and coated with hot tar, which would cause excruciating burns upon contact with the skin. Feathers would then be thrown or pressed onto the tar, adhering to the victim's body and creating a grotesque and humiliating spectacle. In some cases, the victim would be paraded through town or subjected to further abuse before being released or left for dead. Motivations and targets. Tarring and feathering was often motivated by a desire to punish perceived enemies of the revolutionary cause, including loyalists, British sympathizers, informants, and suspected traitors. Patriots employed this brutal tactic as a form of social control, intimidation, and retribution against those perceived as collaborators or opponents of independence. Conversely, loyalists also engaged in tarring and feathering, targeting individuals suspected of supporting the patriot cause or expressing dissenting views. This practice served as a means of enforcing loyalty to the British Crown and suppressing opposition to royal authority. Legacy and consequences. While tarring and feathering was initially employed as a means of punishing perceived enemies and enforcing conformity, its use during the American Revolution ultimately proved counterproductive and damaging to the revolutionary cause. Far from inspiring fear or quelling dissent, tarring and feathering often provoked outrage, sympathy, and further resistance among the population. Moreover, tarring and feathering violated fundamental principles of justice, due process, and human rights, undermining the legitimacy of the revolutionary movement and tarnishing its reputation both at home and abroad. In the aftermath of the war, tarring and feathering fell out of favor and came to be widely condemned as a barbaric and unjustifiable form of violence. Conclusion. Tarring and feathering in the American Revolution stands as a dark chapter in the history of the Revolutionary era, reflecting the brutal and often indiscriminate nature of mob justice in times of crisis. While motivated by a desire to punish perceived enemies and enforce conformity, this violent practice ultimately undermined the principles of liberty, justice, and democracy that the American patriots sought to uphold. As we reflect on the legacy of the American Revolution, let us remember the lessons of tarring and feathering as a cautionary tale of the dangers of extremism, intolerance, and the abuse of power in the pursuit of justice. May we strive to uphold the principles of fairness, compassion, and respect for human dignity in our pursuit of a more just and equitable society.